Change is possible, and you've got the power to change. This is Book Talk, and I'm your host, Anthony Moirore. At Book Talk, we have guests come and talk about their books, and always we have great authors who come and share with us about their journey in writing or tell us more about a book that they've written, either previously published, just recently published, or just about to publish. And today we have a guest with us who is known as Gary Lalonde. He's going to be here shortly to share with us about his book, The Power to Change. But before we bring him on, I would like to remind you to please share these with all your friends. Yeah, let them also learn about the power to change. If you have a question, ask. We love questions and we answer them where possible. If you have a comment to make, we love feedback. So please make the comment and we'll appreciate that. And now, without taking one more minute, I'm going to invite you to join me as we go together to meet Gary. Here we go. Hello, Gary.
Good morning and thank you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm blessed, and please understand I'm absolutely honored to have been invited to Book Talk at Book Place and have this opportunity to share with your valued listeners and viewers.
Yeah, it's a great honor to have you here because we know that you're going to share with us some great insights about books.
That's my goal.
Okay, so as we get started, we would like to know where is it in the world that you are at?
Well, it's a great story for me because it's a story of change.
Okay,
For I truly am a person who walks the talk. It's just not something that I've felt to write about without knowing about it.
okay.
My life as a young man was based around having a great ability to sell. And please understand, I started selling produce through the neighborhood 8, 10, 12 years of age.
Okay.
But my personal life was just an absolute disgrace. It was an embarrassment. It was a haunting hell. No self confidence, no self esteem, no perceived values. To the point I was even raised through the education system as learning disabled.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived down to their expectations.
Mm,
And then, please, I had an awakening that there was more inside of me. And then I started my journey to find out how do I successfully get from where I am to where I want to be of a happy, healthy, successful person.
mm.
And my book is written around the steps that I took to get from A to B.
Wow, beautiful. And we'll get to hear about that, getting from point A to B with the power to change. But even before we go there, I'm curious to know at what point in life did you start writing?
This is almost embarrassing, but I will share it with you.
Okay, please do.
During my elementary school days, at
Yeah.
one time on a spelling exam, I got a score of 2 below 0. I don't know how you do that,
I
but I
don't.
did it.
You did.
Yes. And of course, I lived into that there's no value in me.
Yeah.
And then, please, I started meeting people. One of the individuals I was very fortunate to meet and be mentored by was the co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul Empire, Mark Victor Hansen. I
Okay.
met his partner, Jack Canfield, Les Brown. There was so many people that I started studying from, and then back in 2004, I started writing my very first book, which is the Power to Change. And since then, I've written 11 more books.
Oh, The Power to Change. So this was your very first book that you wrote.
Yes, sir. And that, please, was based on my journey from a living hell to a life of celebration.
Okay. And we love stories at Book Talk. When we are talking, we talk about author's journey, and we can want to know the experiences that you went through and the insights that you share in the book, How to Change. Please go ahead. Tell us
Well,
everything and anything.
well, Anthony, here was the whole thing. As
Yes.
desperately as I wanted to share this success, the fear of being inferior, not good enough, what
Mm.
value would I have to offer? And I'm just so delighted that I just received another endorsement on my book, The Power to Change. And this gentleman has a master in education. He's a very successful business owner. And his endorsement was one of the very best books he's read in 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
I take great pride in knowing that others are seeing the value that it helps. And please understand, it starts right for the person who wants more but are not certain how to even start the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Yeah.
that is a very critical part in this change process. But it's a 9 step book. And the third step, in my mind, Anthony, says it all. And it's when you, I, and your listening audience become sick and tired of being sick and tired, they'll start the steps to move forward, to move from A to B.
Wow, I think I've heard that statement being made by Les Brown, so we can, we can identify from the places that you got your mentorship. Now, even before you proceed, I'll take you back a little bit, and congratulations on the endorsement that you just recently got. But before you go into that you recently got, the first endorsement that is on the cover is from Mark of Victor Hansen, as I can see, but we can't read it very well. Can you please tell us what it says?
If you're ready to break through to the next level, read my friend Gary's book and blast towards success beyond your ability to imagine.
Ah, success beyond your ability to imagine.
Ability to imagine.
That's a beautiful one. That's a
And
beautiful.
Mark's a classic story of wanting to empower people's lives
Mm-hmm.
and the challenges that come on that journey.
Mm.
And some of it was financial, some of it was personal. But I will tell you this: um, I moved from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, to the
Mm-hmm.
Detroit, Michigan area. It was while I was in the Detroit, Michigan area that I met Les Brown and started to mentor with Les Brown. And then I got connected with Mark Victor Hansen. And when he would come to Michigan, any place in Michigan, I'd pick him up at the airport, drive him to a speaking engagement. I was the person at the back of the room that handled the sale of his cassettes
Mm-hmm.
and his books,
Mm-hmm.
and videos. And then when he was done, I would drive him back to the airport. And Mark played a big role in my life from the point of view is that he too is an individual who just didn't dream about this. He's walked his journey in life.
Mm-hmm.
And as I say, he was extremely generous with me and my fear. He
Mm-hmm.
could see my fear. And here's one of the things when we would get in the car and drive from the airport, he would say, "Now, what is your questions? What questions did you bring for me?" And I would start, and this lesson stays forever. He said,
Mm.
"Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. Where's your list of questions?" And I said, "I've got it right here." And he said, "Don't you ever waste my or your time again. If you don't put those questions in writing, you don't have questions."
Wow.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And this was the deal. He said, "When I get off that plane and we start addressing your questions, if I don't get them all done, when I'm on my flight to the next place, I'll finish those. And now, of course, this dates me. I'll fax them back to you."
Mm.
Okay. But it's time to start putting things in writing, your ambitions, your goals, your desires, your fears,
Mm-hmm.
so that you know what you're facing and how now through the power to change how you can circumvent that learning curve and go to where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And sir, um, the power to change is written as a workbook and a learning experience all in one. So you actually can make your notes in the book, and you can actually record your changes and your successes. It's an incredible aid, and I'm just absolutely honored that I was given that message to share.
Yeah, and we already can, even from the story that you're telling, we can only get excited about what we are going to find in there, and what a great experience and a great blessings to be mentored by people who've been there, done that, and they have accomplished. I can imagine what Mark Victor Hansen has achieved, and all the people that you have been mentored with, and I can actually see the steps that you've taken to be where you are, and we can imagine now where you are already.
Well, thank you. Mark said to me one time, there was a gentleman who has since passed, Bob Proctor from Toronto, Ontario.
Yeah.
He had a great book, Mission and Commission, and several other books.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Dr. Lee Poulos, out of British Columbia, he was the coach to the Olympic teams. Um, of course, Les Brown. There was just a number of uh, Tony Robbins has mentored me.
Oh.
And and Mark said, "How did you ever make this happen?" And I believe it was just that I was in the right state of mind to draw this wisdom and knowledge into my life. And I feel special
Mm-hmm.
from the point of view is that I listened, I asked, because I knew I was listening to the wrong people about what I was not.
Mm-hmm.
I had to know more of who Gary Lalonde is and Anthony. Every day, I continue to discover more.
Yeah.
And
And
I
learning never stops.
no, it doesn't, sir.
Yeah.
And I believe the experiences that we have in our life are actually learning steps.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, um, there's a syndrome out there called deep pockets. And if you have money, somebody's going to sue you because they think you got too much money in your pockets. Okay. Mark Victor Hansen's been there many times, as
Yes.
have most people. I'll always remember the time that I spent 7.5 years in a frivolous, false lawsuit.
Okay.
And here's where I really come from. I
Mm.
did not handle that experience wisely at the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
7.5 years.
Wow.
I was really blessed. I had hired a rather inept attorney, but
Mm-hmm.
at the time I didn't know. And I focused so negatively on this for 7.5 years. I brought cancer into my life, and I brought it in at a stage 4 level.
Mm.
Mm,
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And for the men who are in your audience, there's a test they do called the PSA test to
Okay.
determine, cancer and how much. And they use a scale of 0 to 4. 0, nothing; 1, well, 2, something's going on; 3, we better get on top of this; 4, in the name of the Father and the Son. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One of my highest personal PSA results was over 700. I've had medical people say it doesn't go that high.
That's
And
what
I
I'm
can
gonna ask. How
tell you
how
this,
uh-huh.
I was shocked to learn that it does.
Uh-huh.
But I'm here to tell you that once I got a hold of my emotions that got run away um, with this 7-figure lawsuit, I went back to my own teaching because we teach what we need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I started revealing and candidly, sir, um, cancer was diagnosed in 2004.
Yeah.
The medical profession asked my wife if she owned a black dress. And I go, "What's that about?" He said, "Well, if you don't sign for the surgery, the chemo, and the radiation, I wouldn't give you 5 months to live."
Mm.
2004.
Mm-hmm.
No surgery, no chemo, no radiation. Their math was wrong 19 years later.
Oh,
But,
that's interesting. Would you tell us a bit more about that?
well, the whole truth of the matter is that who do you listen to?
Mm.
Who do you listen to? Okay. And then all of a sudden, the words and the wisdom from my mentors all came back to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's a gentleman who has written beautiful books who has since made his transition by the name of Og Mandino.
Yeah.
Og had a heart bigger than the screen that you're broadcasting on.
Mm-hmm.
He was an incredible writer,
Mm.
and I read every book that I knew he had read.
Mm-hmm.
And then what it was for me is, how could I stand in front of people and tell them that they could accomplish anything they set their mind on if I didn't take that very approach for treating my cancer?
Mm.
I learned that there had been people who had reversed cancer naturally. And my thought was, if they've done it, I can too.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to find out what they did. So
Mm-hmm.
I made a quest of reading what they did. I did because of my spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
I prayed to the good Lord to send me a homeopathic doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And in 10 days, that homeopathic doctor was in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll always remember what he said to me. He said, "You can waste your time, but not my talent. If you don't want to follow what I would do in your situations, I'd ask that you not waste my time."
Mm-hmm.
So the cancer journey, I believe, was one of those worst, best experiences, because I've also written a book of cancer, Releasing the Healer Within.
Mm-hmm.
And what do I do? Do I treat the symptom or do I treat the cause? And treating the cause was the same thing I overcame alcohol with. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't treat the symptom of drinking. I treated, why did I drink?
Mm-hmm.
And when I faced the issues of why I drank, guess what? Drinking went away.
Mm-hmm.
And 37 years later, I have still the joy of being a non drinker.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a distinction between being a dry drunk and a non drinker.
Mm.
I've dealt with the issues. I'm not worried about relapsing. And
Okay.
yet that's yet another book of an individual I've helped, and he and I wrote a book about crushing the chains of alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So the change thing, The change is the nucleus for everyone. We can either stay frozen where we are and defend why we're there, or we can ask and look and devour the information and the power to change, to bring change into your life. And that's why I'm so honored to have been that messenger chosen to bring this message to your uh, book talk, book place audience.
Wow, that's wonderful. Yes. And again, thank you for reminding us that it's possible for us to change from where we are to where we want to be. But then you remind us it all comes from what it is that we are feeding our mind with. Whom are you
Yes.
listening to? Because the person that you listen to, the books that you read, the movies you watch, the music you listen to, they are all going to have an effect on you
Yep.
if you allow them to,
Yep. And the effect can be either positive or
or negative.
negative,
Yeah.
depending on what you're listening to.
hmm So choose wisely. And after you listen, apply what it is that you're hearing.
And when you apply them, don't don't expect to jump from A to B.
Mm-hmm.
Take the steps. Some of them will be giant steps, and some of them will almost appear that you didn't even move, but it's all part of that journey.
Mm-hmm. It's a
And
process.
and please understand, um, when you've reached that point of sick and tired of being sick and tired, quitting should never be an option.
Mm-hmm.
If I may have a second, I used to teach at the School of Hypnotherapy, and I
Mm.
was really blessed to be respected by the owner. She's now made her transition, Dr. Ann Spencer, but I
Mm-hmm.
was really honored when her family or close friends needed and wanted help. She referred them to me. She'd have me speak at the School of Hypnotherapy and train. And I met a lady who had been in a wheelchair for 42 years
Mm-hmm.
with polio symptoms. We discovered through regression therapy she never had polio. She had symptoms, and because of the symptoms, she was treated as if she had the condition.
Mm.
Long story short, I worked with her for a short span of time. And in 5 weeks, after 42 years in a wheelchair, she was walking the width of a swimming pool with no mechanical aids after
Mm.
5 weeks.
Interesting.
At the seventh week of my one on one sessions once a week, she told me she was quitting the sessions. I no
Uh-huh.
longer wish to do this. And my
Uh-huh.
question was, that's your choice, but may I ask why?
Mm-hmm.
And her reply was, I think I can get more attention in life sitting in a wheelchair than I can standing like so many others.
Wow. Oh, that place in life where we place ourselves because we are going to attract more attention in our needy position,
Yep,
in our point where we seem most vulnerable, most in dire need of anything of help, then we limit ourselves to the potential that we could grow into
yep.
just because of that.
Yes, sir. You nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why all of my books that are available on my website, GaryLalonde.com, they're all designed to help people help themselves. And in 10 of them, there is actually a co author in the book from the very person that I helped overcome these physical and mental conditions. And that's what brings the the recipe all together, is that people don't have to just believe what I'm saying. The
Mm-hmm.
very person that I help has co-authored the book to substantiate these changes. And some of these changes now are 30, 35 years still positive.
Mm. Focusing on the power to change. You mentioned earlier that is a 9 step book. And my viewer, my listener is wondering, could we have a hint of the steps? Or do you want to give them all to us? Or would you rather we go and buy the book and get about, you mentioned about two of them, those steps. So maybe you can give us a little bit of the steps to us.
Well, the very first one starts with
Uh-huh.
acknowledging a need, a desire to change.
Okay.
Up until then, you can make excuses, justify the bad relationships. And unfortunately, today we have millions of people with addictions,
Mm-hmm.
millions.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is, what they're really telling the world is there's something missing inside of them based on their beliefs
Mm-hmm.
that they can only find through an outside source.
Yeah.
So, acknowledging need, a desire. Okay. Then
Mm-hmm.
step number three was becoming sick and tired of being sick and tired. And then one of the ones that are tough is to actually acknowledge and reward yourself for having done the best you could up until this point of deciding there's more in life and that I can have it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the key of the nines is find new ways. Find new ways to bring into your life the things that you would like to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, One of the new ways is eliminating the negativity that flows into your life.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful what you watch. Are you reading a newspaper? Are you watching the daily, nightly news? Um, there is I remember one of my dear friends, Mort Meisner, who was director of news for CBS for 20 years. And he always said that the lead story was based on if it bleeds, it leads.
Mm-hmm.
It's always the negative.
Yeah.
There's not one article in today's or tomorrow's newspaper about you, Anthony, or about myself doing such great things to
Mm-hmm.
help people. It's
Mm-hmm.
not there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks to people like you, Anthony, with your programs and your extensions through the internet, you're bringing messages to people that can change and will change their life if they'll trust themselves to follow you and the authors that you bring.
Mm.
Okay, so
Yeah, thank you
find
for
some
that.
new ways,
Mm-hmm.
and then one of the things is take an inventory of the things that you say to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That inner voice says things so untrue, so cruel, that if another person was to say them to you, you'd probably want to lash out at them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that voice inside of you, Shad Helmsletter wrote a great book called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when you learn to master that voice so that it is still, you can hear the wisdom of infinity.
Mm-hmm.
It'll tell you who to call, what to say, what not to. It is just such a profound. I remember I was so blessed. Um, I'm passionate.
Mm.
I'm really passionate about helping other people and to be an example of what I teach.
Yeah.
One day, coming back from teaching at the School of Hypnotherapy in outside of Detroit, Michigan, I had promised my wife that I would not book anything that Saturday, but I cheated and I booked in the morning and I said I'd be home by 1 o'clock. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I had about an hour and a half drive and I was still at the school at 1 o'clock. So I'm on my way home, shooting down the expressway. Yes, I was speeding, looking, trying to do my very best. And there was a wee little gray Renault behind me. And he must have thought that if the police catch me, they'll let him go. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the little voice in my head that I'm very protective of said, exit now. So I exited off, got up to the exit stop sign, and realized this was not the exit I needed or wanted to
Mm-hmm.
go home. So
Mm-hmm.
I made the circle, come back down, and that little Renault had smashed into a car that was stopped in the middle of the expressway.
Whoa.
Would have I hit it? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But the nice thing for me is that voice said exit now, and I listened.
Mm-hmm.
I listened. And that's what you and I are doing, is helping people understand there is a voice in your head. Don't let it run wild. Um, Stop the messages of negativity, and then let the beauty of positivity come out.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the final steps there is just celebrate. Be kind to yourself.
Mm,
You made the best decisions with the information you had. And as you read more, and I'm hoping The Power to Change is one of those books they say I've got to have today,
mm-hmm.
is that, and it's available in print or ebook, is however an individual would like it. But based on those simple steps, start on the journey. And please understand, my contact information is in the book. I'll
Mm-hmm.
help anybody who's willing to help themselves.
Mm. Beautiful. Wow. Let's celebrate that we have made it through this episode, as that is one of the things to celebrate. The power to change, and once you have accomplished something, celebrate, celebrate,
Yes. Yes.
celebrate. So we've accomplished this episode of Book Talk, and it has been a beautiful episode.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Before we go, we would like maybe to know where can we get the books that you mentioned, and especially this one, The Power to Change.
I'd encourage your listening and your viewing audience, just go to my website, GaryLalonde.com.
Okay, that's GaryRaland.com.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so everyone who's listening or watching, please head over to GaryLalonde.com and get to read the books that he's written. And as you've heard, he's been taught by the greats, so expect to find some great things in those books, and especially from The Power to Change. As we are coming to the end of the show, we would like you to tell us a few things. And it's true, you've told us quite a lot of things that are important, that are great. But what's that one thing that you'd like us to always remember? Please tell it to us before we sign off.
Well, that's a powerful question, and something tells me you've asked that before. Okay.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is to embrace the greatness that's inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
When I autograph my books, I say, discover the greatness within you. It's a journey. It's a journey of self discovery. It's a journey of self love.
Mm-hmm.
And that, sir, is the answer to your question. It's learning to love yourself more than you do anything else, except if you have and are smart enough to have that spiritual belief in that spiritual higher power. Okay. I call God. All right. But I'm just asking you, is that I higher power made no junk. And please, you're very, very special. Learn to respect and love that specialness that makes you you.
Wow. What beautiful words. The higher power made no junk. So, you who is listening, you who is watching, remember that you are not junk.
No, no,
Yes, you've
no.
greatness within you.
Yep.
Go on that journey to discover that greatness and live to your full potential.
Yes.
And
Please.
it all comes from embracing that power to change.
Yes. Yes, sir, it does.
Yes. Wow, this has been a beautiful episode, and we thank you, Gary, very, very, very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, for
I've,
coming to our show.
I've enjoyed meeting you. And then again, your audience listening, viewers, they can email me, they can reach out to our website. Um, the journey that they wish, there's answers to achieving it on my website.
Okay, yeah. Once again, please remember to go to Gary's website, which is GaryRaland.com, and connect with him. And that's about it for today. Thank you very much, all those who are watching. I see there are people watching, and thank you very, very much. Have a great day. And once again, thank you, Gary.
My honored and blessings. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. This has been Book Talk at Book Place. I've been your host, Anthony Moirori, and together with our guest, Gary Lalonde, we are reminding you to live to your greatness. And until next time, it's bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.